On today's episode of the Homegrown Hunter TV, we're doing some smoking of a bunch of meat. We've got elk, venison, black bear cooking in the crock pot, as well as some chicken. Stay tuned because we're going to introduce Uncle Jim a little later too. Homegrown Hunter TV has been brought to you by Rack Stacker Brand Products, Canada's leading big game attractants company. Campbellford Chrysler, a small town dealer with a huge inventory. And Hockabones Equipment, Ottawa Valley's Kubota dealer. And these other fine sponsors. Because I do my own butchering, there's a couple of things I always pay attention to before putting any of my meat into the freezer, or at least preparing it for any family member. Now I got a piece of black bear here right now, and it's got some sinew and tendon on the side that I'm going to be cutting off. I don't like to cook with any of that, so I'm just going to cut off this piece in the front. And today we're going to be cutting up a bunch of cubed bear. One thing that I try and make sure I do is obviously maintain a thin cut. I'm using what's called a Stein bit from Helly Knives. And just cutting it with like a fillet, almost like filleting a fish in the skin. We're going to just slowly thin some of this off. And then flipping it over, you'll see here that there's a tendon that goes right through the middle of this meat. So we don't want that tendon in there. That's why we're cubing up this bear right now. We're going to do our best to try and get rid of that. Yeah, there's a better view of it. So we're going to cut the sinew off first, and then we'll cut the meat off and cut the tendon out and just cube the bear. Throw it in a cooker tonight, and slow cook it for about 8 hours time. A little bit's okay, I just don't like a lot of it. It makes it really chewy. So that's all good cubed bear meat right there. Same thing, just slowly cut away that tendon away from the meat on the opposite side. So that's that whole tendon right there that you want to get rid of. That makes it extremely chewy. And I just cube this up. Bear's all ready to go. I've got elk here as well. This elk right here came from a past hunt that we had out in BC this year. We're also going to prepare some venison that I shot out in Wisconsin, as well as my daughter's deer loin that we got here on the Rack Stacker farm. We got some snow goose coming up. We're going to do some jerky with the kids so they can take it to school. And as a backup plan, like I always have, you never know who's going to be here, so I always make sure I've got some chicken or beef set aside just in case they don't want to eat this. But I think they're going to be impressed. But this is black bear, and you got to take your time of cooking this. And I'm going to show you how I like to do it, and typically do it all the same way unless it's a roast or a steak. What I highly suggest you do is marinate it overnight. So the biggest thing I find with any type of wild game is rushing the cooking process. You never take anything out of the freezer and then throw it on the barbecue because then it doesn't cook thoroughly through. Not only that, when you pre-marinate this overnight, it's going to taste a heck of a lot better. What I normally do is use Montreal steak spice. Don't use a lot of it because I do like Uncle Jim's. In fact, today we're going to talk about Uncle Jim's. But I just put a little bit of Montreal steak spice in there. I've got Uncle Jim's here out of the box. Put a little bit of that in there. Worcestershire sauce is another favorite that I use on almost all of my meats, and just put a little couple splashes on there. Instead of using a lot of salt, because it does cure it and it can sometimes make it too salty, I tend to use a lot of soy sauce. I've tried the cheaper soy sauce, it just doesn't taste right, so I go with VH, it's the good stuff. And I use quite a bit of that. That also helps spread out the spices when I'm sitting it to marinate overnight. Just use your hands and mix all this up. You're going to use the same container to set it overnight. And just mix it up so that the spices are all mixed together. Like I say, the soy sauce really helps. Pack her down nice and tight. Then I take saran wrap. Doesn't have to be a fancy way of doing this. And instead of wrapping the container or putting a lid on it, because it tends to dry out, I like to push the saran wrap right tight to the meat. Now I'm going to show a quick clip about my daughter and I's bear hunt as I put this in the fridge and prepare some more meat. My buddy Matt had went in to set up a spring bear hunt for us using Rack Stacker product. It didn't take long for the bears to find the morsels. We had a mature bear with 2-year-old cubs at the bait. Now it is legal to shoot an Ontario sow as long as the cubs are not born this year. These are clearly 2-year-old cubs and Mom has taught them everything they need to know to survive. As she tried to go downwind of us, I chose to shoot after watching them for about 30 minutes. Hold on. So the cubs will be fine, and we'll go after that big boar that's still in there.
Sounds good.
Awesome.
The Alton Safe Outdoors ground blinds offer a fast and safe solution to hunt anywhere, so we can easily adapt to game movement during our hunting season. In addition, they protect us from the unexpected weather conditions. Get your Alton Safe Outdoors ground blinds at your favorite retail location and enjoy maximum comfort and concealment this hunting season. Alton Safe Outdoors, Canada's first and only hunting brand.
Bishop Lake Outdoors is located in Cloyne, Ontario, and is the area's full-line Browning gun and accessory dealer. Bishop Lake Outdoors has a large selection of guns to choose from, including muzzleloaders, rifles, shotguns, and even the authorized dealer of the one and only Excalibur crossbow. That's not all. A full line of top fishing brands are also available. Stop in and see the staff at Bishop Lake Outdoors. When preparing black bear, you want to prevent trichinosis infection by fully cooking the meat. This is very similar to chicken. Now after pan-searing this black bear, marinating it overnight, I've got this into a crock pot. I'm going to put it in like so. I've just got a basic tomato sauce here. It's a spicy one that I like to have. And I'm going to turn this on low for 8 to 10 hours. So I normally start this in the morning when I go to work, and then by the time supper comes around, I've got something to eat. The acidity in the tomatoes actually helps break down that meat so you don't get any trichinosis in it. And you want to slow cook that and thoroughly cook it through for black bear, especially black bear. And another thing too is after you have let this sit for 8 to 10 hours, add that on top of some mashed potatoes and you won't have any other black bear like it. It's absolutely fantastic. So now what we're going to do is we're actually going to prepare some venison. I've got 3 different animals here actually. I've got a rump roast that came off of a Wisconsin whitetail. We've also got the loin that's cut in half. It's the smaller one here. So my daughter's deer from November, her gun, this is the top end of her loin. We're going to prepare this right now for the smoker, and then as I put my spices on here, like I had done with my black bear, I'm going to wrap it all up nice and tight and put it in the fridge overnight. Using the same methods as I had done before, but this time I'm going to add more Uncle Jim's to it. So first and foremost, Uncle Jim's spices I've got here. I'm just going to lightly sprinkle that on to all the meat right across the board. That'll mix up nicely once I get some soy sauce on there. I then add some Montreal steak spice, but this is, again, it's just a small amount. My favorite, I've been eating this stuff since I was a kid. My dad put this on all of our meat, Worcestershire sauce. Of course, my salt, which is my soy sauce, like so. Then sometimes, depending on the type of flavoring you like, I don't like any sweet meats, but today we're going to also add a honey glaze on this, and I'll show you a little later before we get to smoking. But I'm going to mix all this up, put it on the wrap just like the black bear, and put it back in the fridge. I find personally that allowing your meat to marinate overnight is extremely important, especially with wild game. Now you can see here that this wild game, this venison, I cleaned it myself with Matt and Mike out in Wisconsin. My daughter and I were in the kitchen this year butchering her own deer, and we cut all the fat and sinew off it like we'd done earlier to ensure that none of that fatty flavor is in the meat when you're freezing it. It's important to make sure you get good marinade on it. Stick it back in the fridge for a day's worth of sitting, like so. Keep it all nice and tight, and when you take that out tomorrow to add it onto the smoker, it's going to be nice and lush and full of moisture, so that when we put it on the smoker we can sear it and hold that flavor in. Let's cut to my daughter's hunt back in November, just for a quick moment to see how we harvested that deer. Ashton and I were hunting over Rackstacker's field edge food plot that was getting a lot of deer activity. Every day we seen deer, but it wasn't until the hard frost the second day that we had a deer of choice show up. Take your time, put it on them. Just breathe and put it on them. See, that's a perfect shot right there.
Did you do it?
Shh, shh. On my personal farm at Rackstacker, I spend a lot of time doing chores and getting work done with my Kubota. Since 1972, when Kubota had built their first compact tractor, they have excelled and strive for engineering excellence so you can focus on planting, feeding, building, and caring for our world. There are multiple implements available for Kubota tractors and small farm use. You can find a large selection at your local Kubota dealer. I choose Huckabones Equipment in Cobden, Ontario, as they have friendly service and a large selection of equipment to choose from, including construction, commercial, and agricultural use. For Earth, for life, choose Kubota. Visit kubota.ca for your local dealer. The family-owned company Helle Knives out of Norway are among the best in their business. They're built to last with quality craftsmanship since 1932. With the triple laminated stainless steel blade, it'll be sharp for when you need it the most. Handcrafted knives for every use in the field, from cleaning big game, butchering, and preparing your meat for the table. Look for a Helle knife dealer near you. Take life to a whole new level and look good while doing it. HD fast wheels and Falcon tires are the perfect combination to make your truck look awesome and take you to the top. HD Series Fast Wheels is a Canadian company that has a vast selection for your off-road vehicle.
Get off the grid and take to the back road with the dependability of Falcon tires. Check out fastwheels.ca.
Earlier this year I made a trip out to Eastern Ontario to do a snow goose hunt, and I've got myself some snow goose breasts that we had cleaned up earlier in the year that I'm going to prepare for some jerky for the kids. Now in the summertime the kids absolutely love jerky, so this is the easy way to do it. I'm just going to use high mountain seasoning and mix it up. But first, you want to make sure that your cuts are thin so that they all basically dehydrate at the same time. So try and make them all in nice thin lengths. Of course you can use a slicer if you need to, but in this case it's just a little quicker this way. Now you can see here that there's nice long jerky pieces there. Fillet knife is, to me, one of the nicest knives to use when cutting meat. It makes it much easier to cut. Ton of Worcestershire sauce. I like a lot of soya on my jerky. This is the high mountain seasoning that we were using earlier. We use this all the time. You can pick this up at your local retailer. Just their basic cure is, to me, the best one. You're supposed to measure it, but whoever measures. It's just easier to add to it. It doesn't last long enough to go bad anyways. Add a little bit of black pepper to it. Mix all this up. Like so. Easy peasy into the fridge.
After letting your snow goose sit overnight, get your dehydrator out and line the pieces of goose breast on the trays. You want to make sure that none of the pieces touch. I normally set it at 145 degrees for 6 to 8 hours, and the kids will have it gone in no time.
I've got some elk that I had shot in BC earlier this year, and we're going to show you a really cool clip of that. But for right now, what I'm going to do is add some Uncle Jim spices to it. I'm not going to get too crazy because I'm going to add this and slice it up to some fajitas in a couple of days' time. We're going to add it to today's smoker and prepare. But right now, let's cut to that elk hunt.
I had the pleasure to hunt with Rackstacker Elite Staff Donnie Zenner. Calling him young bulls was a riot. You had to be in shape to go where these elk were, that's for sure. These hillsides at times were very steep. It was when we saw this big lad coming into the call. It got really serious, and you're not going to want to miss this episode, that's for sure. Visit hghtv.ca to see past episodes. Huckabones Equipment in Cobden, Ontario has received multiple excellence awards for service, quality, and selection when it comes to Kubota equipment in the Ottawa Valley. From excavators, compact tractors of all needs, and lawn tractors, I personally rely on my Kubota tractor to get the job done around my farm throughout the year. Huckabones Equipment goes the distance for customer satisfaction. Be sure to check out huckabones.com for a full lineup of tractors.
I'd like to introduce you to Uncle Jim himself. I've hunted with him for the last 4 or 5 years, and I think you'll really enjoy his history.
I'm Jim Zadow, owner and operator of Uncle Jim's Meat Market in Little Place, Shady Nook, Pembroke, Ontario, Canada.
Hello, Uncle Jim.
Yeah. I started hunting with my dad when I was probably about, I don't know, maybe 10 years old or so. My dad took me out with uncles. We come from a big family, and being able to go hunting was a great honor and a great pleasure, and a big tradition in our family. Started probably hunting with a BB gun, squirrels, and then progressed up to shooting the first partridge, and I can still take you back to where I shot my first white-tailed deer as a young lad, and it's a tradition, and it's been there a long time, and hopefully it can continue to be a long time. A few of my uncles have passed on now, but we try to keep it going, and now I've got the pleasure of hunting with a lot of good friends, and more important than that, my 2 boys have followed in my footsteps, and they're also hunting too, and so we enjoy it as a family.
Opportunity for both of us to hunt together, and that's kind of actually how Jim and I had met about 4.5, 5 years ago. I got invited out to hunt with his boys, and Jim and I got to hunt together, and that's one of the reasons why we're here, is because he's got a great product, and with his history, your butcher shop, your meat market. How long have you been around with the meat market?
We've had the actual butcher shop here in Shady Nook for 30 years. We started out as a small little place, and we've grown. We put a couple expansions on and created some new products, but the staple of our product has been our recipe of my grandmother's for her smoked sausage, German style smoked sausage, and we've just progressed with it a bit, and instead of a pinch here and a handful there, we've got it down to a regulated formula for X number of pounds, and we've had a lot of success with it. We sell a pile of it week after week to the local community, the local stores. We're in the big grocery stores, and I just feel we can progress with it and give hunters an opportunity to do something with it also.
And they could do it at their own home. You know, being able to take a formulation, which is in the box of Uncle Jim's Original Seasons, and we're able to take our formulation that you've perfected in our own kitchen and do it with our own family, whether you're in Nova Scotia or BC.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Taking it from, say, Renfrew County, which I've seen multiple newspapers, and you know, there's lots of articles in your shop where there's been, you know, publicity locally in newspapers for this recipe, and after hunting with you and the opportunity to see what you have, and of course tasting it over dinner last night multiple times over the hunt camp over the last 5 years, and I'm now able to share that with the public.
Yeah, that's right. And I've been thinking about something like that we could give some reward, I guess, back to the public, sort of thing. And so we just progressed with it, and we got the formulas all down patted, and we think it's something that the hunter is going to enjoy doing. And you start with the tradition of hunting as a family, and you're sitting down to have a meal as a family, and that to me is very, very important.
One big favorite in my household is Uncle Jim's burger. We take Uncle Jim's and follow the recipe in the package to prepare many meals for our summer months. Follow his steps and you will not be disappointed. We repackage a large amount of the burger for patties, spaghetti, lasagna, chilies. It truly transforms the flavor of the meat, and it is truly amazing. To order Uncle Jim's today, visit rackstacker.ca. I spent the better part of yesterday just preparing for today's meal, and now that I've got the smoker almost 400 degrees, this is going to act almost like a barbecue. I've got some elk, venison, and chicken that we're going to be putting on here right now. We're going to let it slow cook for 4 to 5 hours until internal temperature is where we need it, and we're going to have a fantastic meal. This elk that I'm putting on right here, these are just steaks from loins. We're going to have them tonight for dinner. Then tomorrow, I'm going to take this venison and slice that up. We're going to use that for sandwich meat.